Shalom will praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Al-Rakah Kodash. Double honors unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. And shalom to the whole full elect. This is Paya Allah, and this is Judges 7 and 1. Then Jerubbaal, who is Gideon, and all the people that were with him, rose up early and pitched beside the well of Harod, so that the host of the Midianites were on the north side of them by the hill of Moreh in the valley. And the Lord Yahweh said unto Gideon, the people that are with thee are too many for me to give the Midianites into their hands. These Israel vaunt themselves against me, saying, mine own hand have saved me. Yeah, the Heavenly Father, it must needs be established that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men. And especially within his own people, for them to walk forward in righteousness, it needs to be really understood that their power is the Heavenly Father. All right, even before, we're in the book of Judges, as it was to be judges. As you guys move into the book of Samuel, Israel basically came up to Samuel and asked for a king to be established over them. All right, but what did the Most High say? He basically said, believe it's the Most High or Samuel, but I believe it's the Most High. He basically said, I'm the king. I'm your king. All right. So in saying all of that, it's basically that the Heavenly Father is the ruler within the realm of the deliverer of the children of Israel. All right. I know there was another point I was gonna say, but it's escaping me. Verse 3. Verse 3, now therefore go to proclaim in the ears of the people, saying, whosoever is fearful and afraid, let him return and depart early from Mount Gilead. And there returned of the people 22,000, and there remained 10,000. And the Lord Yahweh said unto Gideon, the people are yet too many. Bring them down unto the water, and I will try them for thee there. And it shall be that of whom I say unto thee, this shall go with thee, the same shall go with thee. And whomsoever I say unto thee, this shall not go with thee, the same shall not go. So he brought down the people unto the water, and the Lord Yahweh said unto Gideon, everyone that lappeth of the water with his tongue as a dog lappeth, him shall thou set by himself. Likewise, everyone that boweth down upon his knees to drink. And the number of them that lapped, putting their hand to their mouth, were 300 men. But all the rest of the people bowed down upon their knees to drink water. Now, through understanding of what was said before, that what the Lord said, the people are too many, all right, lest Israel vaunt themselves against me, and him saying that, look, I'm going to choose, the ones that say can go, and the ones that can't go, can't go. The ones that lapped like a dog are the ones that basically were chosen, all right? And really, I'm just looking, I'm really perceiving, to lap like a dog is a very humble display or humble act, all right? And they're the ones that wind up getting chosen. Whereas the others, who knows, they probably were the ones that would have vaunted themselves up against the Heavenly Father within their minds, all right? From the way everything, played out, okay? Because even a dog as well, what's one of the key denoting factors of a dog? Their loyalty, all right? We had one of our forefathers, Caleb, whose name is Kalab in the Lashwan Kodash, the Hebrew, all right, which means dog, all right? And he was loyal as a dog, all right, because he was you could say, sidekick, or, the number two to who? to Yahushai, who only got his name changed to Joshua, Yahushai, son of Nun, all right, which delivered the children of Israel during the time of the conquest of the land of Canaan. Now, when you deal with that, that just shows you that, look, these men are likened unto that as well. And they wound up being part of Gideon's 300. So let's read on. Verse 7, and the Lord Yahweh said unto Gideon, by the 300 men that lapped will I save you, and deliver the Midianites into thine hand, and let all the other people go, every man unto his place. So the people took victuals in their hand and their trumpets, and he sent all the rest of Israel, every man unto his tent, and retained those 300 men, and the host of Midian was beneath him in the valley. And it came to pass the same night that the Lord Yahweh said unto him, arise, get thee down unto the host, for I have delivered it into thine hand. But if thou fear to go down, go thou with Phurah, thy servant, down to the host, and thou shalt hear what they say. And afterwards shall thine hands be strengthened to go down unto the host. Then went he down with Phurah, his servant, unto the house of the armed men that were in the host. And the Midianites and Amalekites and all the children of the east lay along the valley like grasshoppers for multitude. Right, that's a great amount. And their camels were without number, as the sand of the seaside for multitude. And when Gideon was come, behold, there was a man that told a dream unto his fellow and said, behold, I dreamed a dream, and lo, a cake of barley bread tumbled into the host of Midian. Now I just read how great the host of Midian was, all right? The fact that they were as grasshoppers upon the valley, all right? And their camels were as the sand of the seaside. But then what does it say? It says, I dreamed a dream, and lo, a cake of barley bread tumbled into the host of Midian. Do you know what a cake of barley bread is? All you gotta do is Google that. That's just a cake. Sweet bread. All right? Just tumbled into the host, and what happened? And came onto a tent and smote it, that it fell, and overturned it, that the tent lay along. All right? So this is the Lord really showing you a great vision, all right, in that something so inferior can lay out a host of such magnitude. Verse 14, and his fellow answered and said, this is nothing else save the sword of Gideon, the son of Joash, a man of Israel. All right, and it's really the deliverance that the Heavenly Father is going to fulfill through the hand of Gideon really denotes such a deliverance, all right? A barley cake tumbling into the host of Midian. For into his hand have the power delivered Midian and all the hosts. And it was so, when Gideon heard the telling of the dream and the interpretation thereof, that he worshipped and returned into the host of Israel and said, arise, for the Lord Yahweh delivered into your hand the host of Midian. All right? The fact that they said his name, they said him by name, they acknowledged him by name. That's what I was trying to say. It says everything, all right? And the vision within itself alluded to them speaking to their own destruction and knowing that it was coming. All right, verse 16, words of prophecy. All right, the testimony of Yahushua, the spirit of prophecy. And he divided, the 300 men into 3 companies, 100. And he put a trumpet in every man's hand, with empty pitchers and lamps within the pitchers. All right, so he basically gave them a trumpet in one hand, a horn to blow, and in the other hand, it was like a pot, a vase, an earthen pitcher with a lamp inside, a light, all right? And verse 17, and he said unto them, look on me and do likewise. And behold, when I come to the outside of the camp, it shall be that as I do, so shall ye do. Then I blow with a trumpet, and Salakia. When I blow with a trumpet, I and all that are with me. Then blow ye the trumpets also on every side of all the camp, and say, the sword of the Lord Yahweh and of Gideon. So Gideon and 100 men that were with him came unto the outside of the camp in the beginning of the middle watch, and they had but newly set the watch, all right? And they blew the trumpets and brake the pitchers that were in their hands, all right? So this was what? In the middle watch, all right, which would be midnight, all right? So what should you remind you of? It should remind you of what? Matthew 25, all right? At midnight there was a shout, all right? And it tells you that the Lord is going to descend with a shout when that final trumpet blows, all right? So it says, yeah, I'll just jump from here. And they blew the trumpets and brake the pitchers that were in their hands. All right, that great noise, that tumult. Verse 20, and the three companies blew the trumpets and brake the pitchers and held the lamps in their left hands, and the trumpets in the right hands to blow withal. And they cried with the sword of the Lord and of Gideon. And they cried, the sword of the Lord Yahweh and of Gideon. All right. So you imagine, I believe what took place was that the I believe what happened is they would have broke the pictures with a light in it, and it would have gave that like a ascending kind of light, like a great blast with the because you got the light inside of the earthen pictures, so it would have been like a crash with the light blowing up like a flash basically, and then the long side with the trumpets blowing. That's what it'd be, all right. That's how I believe it played out, from reading, from what I've read, because it does say that in their left hand and trumpets in the right, but I'm assuming that when it says lamps, it's dealing with them having the earthen pitchers in their hands, all right? So anyway, because you read it and you kind of make sense of it as to it being that. But let me read on, verse 21. And they stood every man, but they also said, what? The sword of the Lord. Did they have swords on them? Nah, they didn't. They came out with the earthen pitcher with a lamp inside, and they came out with the what? The trumpet, right? All these things are quite significant that allude to the word, all right? Like I mentioned, Matthew 25, about the at midnight there was a shout, all right? Now, what was the main thing that they had in that allegory, all right, that dark saying that Yahushua was speaking of? They said they had oil for their lamps, all right? The 5 virgins that were wise, the 5 that were foolish didn't have oils for their lamp. They trimmed it. It was a light for a moment, but it had no fuel to keep it going throughout the course of the night, all right? So it shows you how important that light is, all right? But reading on, it says, verse 21, and they stood every man in his place round about the camp, and all the host ran and cried and fled, all right? So it was a great tumult, all right? A great noise. And they didn't have no swords, all right? And the 300, verse 22, and the 300 blew the trumpets, and the Lord Yahweh set every man's sword against his fellows, even throughout all the hosts. All right, so the sword of the Most High Power Yahweh and Gideon was in fact the host's own swords falling upon themselves. All right, that was that barley cake going through that tent of the hosts. All right, descending upon them and crashing them all through and through. All right, showing that the Heavenly Father, through such a masterful deception, basically had it where a whole host of great multitude slew themselves, all right? Showing that nothing's impossible with the Heavenly Father. So it says, and the host fled to Beth Shittah in Zererath, and to the border of Abel Meholah unto Tabith. And the men of Israel gathered themselves together out of Naphtali, and out of Asher, and out of all Manasseh, and pursued after the Midianites. And Gideon sent messengers throughout all Mount Ephraim, saying, Come down against the Midianites, and take them before the and take them before and take before them the waters of Beth Barah and Jordan. Then all the men of Ephraim gathered themselves together and took the waters of Beth Barah and Jordan. And they took 2 princes of the Midianites, Oreb and Zeb, and they slew Oreb upon a rock of Oreb, and Zeb they slew at the winepress of Zeb, and pursued Midian, and brought the heads of Oreb and Zeb to Gideon on the other side of Jordan. On the other side, Jordan. Right, so with that, I pray you edify to the next one. Say shalom. Shalom.